Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Finding the Middle. I know it's been probably around 2 months since the last episode, but trust me, there's reasons behind it. And as you can see, first of all, I am in a new studio, which, I think I said earlier that I was moving. So, in case, I did move, and also I had surgery on my nose. I had a deviated septum, and the recovery time, it kind of took me about like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then right after that, I kind of needed some time for myself. I felt a little bit burnt out. And I just kind of needed some time for me to reflect and kind of knew where I was going to take this podcast and all this content and just clear my mind. But we're here. Like I'm actually like behind on comic books also like probably around a month and a half now. So it's not just this. It's been definitely everything in my life has kind of like slowed down for a minute because I just needed some time for myself. But we're back. We're back, ready to go, motivated. There's a lot of things that have been going on over the past few months that I'm going to talk about, but definitely it's been a good few months of resting and all these things. But I'm gonna talk about. Let's start off by talking about the things that I missed. Or not that I missed, but I watched but didn't get a chance to actually talk about. So first of all, let's start off with a few shows, and I'm gonna start off with Invincible, and just saying how impressed I was with the show, with the actual way they paced the show. You could tell that there was definitely a little bit of a holdback in terms of like the speed of the episodes, and they were able to slow down without taking away a lot from the story, still keeping the audience and the audiences engaged and stuff like that. The only thing, I think it was episode 3, the episode that he goes to hell essentially to help the devil and whatever it is. So like that episode in particular felt very out of place, and this goes to kind of show what I was trying to talk about a few months back when I made a statement saying that the Invincible show didn't need to be extra long in order to be good, and how it they shouldn't be adding stuff because then it's just going to turn into a Walking Dead situation. I know that Robert Kirkman is extremely good when it comes to writing and doing his stories. The one thing that I know is that every single time that he has gone away from the source material, he ends up putting out something that is not too or as good as the original bar that he set with the source material. And that happened with Walking Dead, and it was visible in this season of Invincible. You take away that episode and it was great. It was a great season, 10 out of 10. You put in that episode and you're like, yeah, what the hell is this? That episode actually was not like in the comic books. Like it's just kind of something that he did talk about at the end of the previous season, where he was like, yeah, we're going to explore more the things in hell and all that. And it's fine that he wants to do it. I mean, hey, it is his show, his stuff. But at the end of the day, I think that as a writer, I mean, this came out like so long ago. Also, like the issues. If you weren't able to tell the story then, maybe just take a hint and be like, hey, the show doesn't really need it. Like the story doesn't really need it. Sometimes we like reminisce a lot in the stories that weren't told, and it can kind of take away from the excellent or the perfection or the neatness of the actual source material. So definitely though, out of that, it's been a great show so far, great season. I hope that they actually stick with that. Hey, 1 year, next year at the same time we're gonna have the next season. And then again, I think it's probably going to be like 8 seasons long. It's not going to be longer than that, but you never know. Maybe he'll do a full season of just fillers and stuff, or just spin-offs. I don't know. But anyways, now going into Daredevil now. So let's take a pause from Invincible and kind of just think about Daredevil for a second. Let me just say, wow, Daredevil knocked it out of the park. Like Kevin Feige and like the quality control that he did for Daredevil season one, like the Born Again season one and Born Again season two, has been great. The whole show, every single week, an episode ended, and I just couldn't wait for the next week, and it was just like that for literally 2 months, and it was just so good. It was so freaking good. There was so many things that really played out well. Daniel story arc was just so good all the way from his starts as like this. He used to see lights essentially for Kingpin, and how he would see him as the actual front man, and he just like idolized the Kingpin, and then being also being his demise, because essentially at the end he got killed by the one person that he idolized the most. One of the things that I really did like about the Daniel character was that he was able to kind of he was able to get his redemption before he actually even got, wiped out of the board, to say the least. So it was definitely really nice, really cool to see what happened to him, and like the way his story unfolded and ended. Also on the other side, like Daredevil and his whole "I am Daredevil," and it's like, hey, wink, wink, I am Iron Man. Um, I think it like after seeing that aspect of it, and I'm gonna talk about mainly about this last episode for like this back half, but like the seeing him getting into prison and all that stuff like made me wonder like if we're gonna see him in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I have a feeling that we are gonna see him, even if it's just like a fight scene in prison and he's there, and he's not going to escape from prison, because then he's just going to be a fugitive for the next season of Daredevil. But like I think that he's probably going to be there. So seeing that transpire, seeing Karen Page basically getting acquitted of or all the charges, and like they dropped the charges and dismissed her case, but also seeing how Kingpin like lost power essentially was crazy to me to kind of see it unfold, and the way it was also pretty intense. That last episode, the hallway fight with Kingpin versus New York, essentially, that was crazy because he was just breezing through them like they were paper. Like there's nothing that could stop this man. There's actually this one guy that he just picked up and like slammed against the corner of a wall, and he broke his back against that wall. Like he killed so many people. And then I like the fact that they didn't put him in prison for some reason. Like I the problem with having supervillains get to prison and then get liberated is that you see that the system is flawed already, and they are getting out of prison and stuff like that. But then when Kingpin, like if Kingpin were to go to prison, this would be like the second time that he's been in prison and then he gets out. I also like the fact that they left him to be other people's villains, because at the end of the day, Kingpin, like for example, first appearance of Kingpin was actually in Spider-Man, so he's a Spider-Man villain with ties to Daredevil and all this stuff. So like if they really wanted to use him as a villain for another superhero, they can definitely do that. One of the things that I really enjoyed about it was like the way he kind of incriminated himself, even though it was at the cost of Matt saying that he was Daredevil. But I think that they played out this season perfectly well. The actual last episode was, again, amazing, and it's just one of those things where like the villain got essentially what he deserved. I mean, he got out of power, but at the same time, he was free because they made the deal and all that stuff. So, like, definitely Daredevil, Born Again season 2, 10 out of 10. Also, with that, also I want to talk about Punisher, which came out today's Thursday. So 2 days ago, we had the release of Punisher, the special One Last Kill. Wow. So it was very intense. So much so that I was like, wow, I'm surprised that they actually greenlit this, knowing that Disney is kind of I mean, I'm not surprised that they greenlit it, but I am surprised that they greenlit it, if you know what I mean. It's like a lot of stuff that, like, for example, Deadpool and Wolverine. I was not I was not surprised that they greenlit it just because it's Deadpool and it's also like Wolverine and like it's the better part of the X-Men universe. But then seeing Punisher just stabbing people, killing people, like so brutal and violent. Like, because Deadpool is brutal and violent, but it's like in a comedic way, more light ish. This is just dark and Punisher just dark and just brutal and it's just crazy. So like seeing Frank where he's at the moment was perfect also. Because we didn't, apparently, like, this was supposed to be an episode in Born Again, but then they just decided to give him his own little special, and it's like a 50-minute special, so it feels like an episode, and that's essentially what it is. But they were able to establish what they wanted to establish, but also give the fans of the character some really hardcore scenes with him. Uh, so essentially what's going on, and I'm going to get into spoiler territory right now, but essentially what it was is Frank, basically he thinks that he finally killed all the Nucci's, and basically they were the family involved in the murder of his family. So he got them one by one, like his, personal vendetta, John Wick type of situation. Speaking of John Wick, a dog dies in this special. So like it was very like the parallels with John Wick was just kind of like, oh my god, this is so John Wick right now. Yeah, the guy that kills the dog gets it. Trust me, he gets it at the end, which is like so much satisfaction. But yeah, no, the so he thinks that he's done with it, but then it's a lot of this like trope of, hey, once you do your vengeance and all that stuff, can you actually rest in peace knowing that you avenged whatever you were going to avenge? And like Frank is in this moment where he doesn't have an identity anymore. Cuz like he doesn't know where to start, cuz he avenged them. Perfect. He doesn't have a purpose no more. He doesn't know what to do with his life. He even tried to kill himself. He, after everything that he's been through as the Punisher, after hunting all these people down and making them pay for what they did to his family, he found himself like alone. Like it didn't matter that they were dead. It really didn't matter that they were dead. It was all about it was this mission to get them dead, but then there was no plan afterwards. So like he accomplished it, or so he thought, because like the there's one more news she, in case you guys don't know, and she's also in the comics. Although in the comics, I don't think she has like arms and legs. I think it was like if I saw something like that. But like there is something scarier than seeing Punisher trying to avenge his family and being mad, and it is a woman that has lost it all, dude. Like there's something about it that is, to me, more like it's scarier than seeing a man that lost everything. Like a woman that has lost everything with power and without anything to lose. Scary as hell. Scary shit right there. And like that is her character right there. Her character is a woman that has lost it all, has nothing to lose, and is literally pissed. And she goes and she tells him like 6:47, I think it was, something like that. Like she tells him the time, I will never forget this time, and at that time today. I put a bounty on your head and everybody's gonna try and kill you. And the freaking building was just crazy. A bunch of people lighting fire, killing people, dropping people from like the edge of the building and like down crazy. It was just freaking insane. And like, let me see. Her name is Ma Nucci, and like she's the last survivor of the Nucci family and all this stuff. And I just loved the way they portrayed her, like specifically when she was stucking up close to the Punisher with her little crutches and stuff, and she could barely stand up, and she's just like full of hate, dude, full of hate, just talking to the man that literally killed not only her husband and her whole family, but also her child, because like he literally executed him in front of her while she's in the car and stuff. And just seeing her pissed off was just like, dude, he fucked up. I mean, don't get me wrong, Punisher is definitely like a guy that to be scared of, but like again, there's something about a woman that has lost it all that is even scarier. Like, because they don't have anything to lose. She doesn't have anything to lose anymore. And I mean, um, her character, like if you look at her character in the comic books and you see that scene where she's speaking and like making all this faces, like face expressions and all that stuff, you can definitely see Ma there. Like you see her and I'm like, yeah, they that was a perfect casting right there. I love that freaking character, and she freaking did the best she could do with that character. Like it was just so freaking good. But anyways, this at this moment where like basically all this situation happens is where Punisher kind of finds himself again knowing that, hey, my mission is not done. I have to kill one more. And he goes out and does the punishing, like he goes out there and like literally he kills a bunch of people, dude. Like it's just the kill count in this movie is freaking crazy. 50 minutes, 50 bodies. It's so freaking good. So definitely if you haven't seen it yet, go and watch it. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you're probably like seeing the spoilers because you like spoilers. But go ahead and see it. Essentially what happens at the end is that he finds himself again ready to be the Punisher, and he kills the guy that kills the dog. Like that's the way to end it. Great way. It also gives you an idea where he is in his state of mind when Spider-Man Brand New Day takes place, because he's going to be also in Spider-Man. So we have Hulk in Spider-Man, we have Punisher in Spider-Man, we also have obviously Spider-Man, but then I also think that Daredevil's going to be there in some way, shape, or form. But we'll see what happens. We're kind of a few months away. It comes out on July 31st, if I'm not mistaken. So it's definitely one of those moments where, like, yeah, we'll see what happens. There's definitely a lot to unpack, and again, it was a great special, super good. Now let's shift our perspective a little bit. Let's go now to The Boys. So one more episode to go, guys. One more episode to go for The Boys. And it's gonna be one of these moments where I feel like the majority of people are gonna be pissed with the ending. As you guys saw in like the last two episodes, essentially like Homelander getting the V1, becoming essentially immortal. The boys don't have any other plans and stuff. And in this week's episode, you can see how like the morale in the team has kind of just completely went down the drain. The only person to be expected that is still on board with the plan and will go until the last consequences is Butcher. And we get a little bit of backstory with Butcher in his time where, he was doing his thing out there and how his whole team died and he was the only person that survived and stuff like that. And you kind of see how Butcher sacrificed his previous team in order to get the objective done, and now how he's willing to do the same thing for the boys. And you can kind of see it when Frenchie, spoiler alert again, when Frenchie dies, you could see the expression on Butcher's face where he was sad, but he's not distraught by what happened, by his friend dying or anything like that. He's like, oh, it is, a means to an end type of situation. And this is why Butcher is, in the eyes of so many people, so obnoxious and like nobody likes him. He wants this goal and he will go through every single step of the way. It doesn't matter in order to get this done. And if that means that everybody has to die in order for him to see the objective being completed, then he will just do it. He will just do it. And it is sad. Like Frenchie dying was definitely hard to watch because like they were kind of foreshadowing him. He's like, I don't want to see Kimiko die, and like I love Kimiko, and hey, we're gonna be together. Let's get a little dog. Like here's our dog. Like, hey, I found a Bernedoodle, and we're gonna live together. They were literally foreshadowing his death the whole episode. So when Homelander finds them and he gets there, I was like, yeah, he's dying. He's dying. And he saved Kimiko in the process, and he also saved Sage. But the boys has always been a trope about superheroes and how, it's a parody of them. It's not your typical world where like the superheroes are all good and brave and selfless. You have selfish cowards, murderers flying around in capes pretending to be the saviors of the world. That is essentially what The Boys is. And to think that we're going to get a happy ending, it's kind of the contrary. Like we are like, you're seeing a show that portrays the darkness in a world of superheroes. We're not going to get a happy ending. I think the happiest ending we could possibly get would be like Homelander losing his powers and living his life as a human being because he sees humans as this lesser beings. So that would be the happiest ending we could get. Another ending could be that he doesn't lose his powers and it's just the boys get fucked. Like that's literally what like another possible ending. Like it's either gonna be like he doesn't die at all and he keeps his powers being a fucking asshole and he rules the world and we get this like chaotic ending, or he'll just lose his powers and live among humans for the rest of his life, which is as bad as it can get. Like Homelander would rather be dead than having to live as a human. And that is one of the things that plays with my brain a little bit. Like, what are they gonna do? What can they do? Because we also have one more episode left. Don't get me wrong. Like, we don't have 2 episodes. There's not a new season coming out. Like, the next thing that they're gonna focus on right after The Boys is the Vought Rising show with Soldier Boy and all this stuff. Like, we still need to know what the hell is gonna happen with Soldier Boy after basically being frozen again by or put into hibernation by Homelander once again. We still have to like find out what's going to happen with Homelander and where they're going to take this whole situation of Homelander trying to be Jesus. So like those 3 in and of itself are going to take some time for this last episode. So I wonder in reality what is going to be the ending, because I feel like the ending, it's not what people think it's going to be. And it's gonna be something surprising, and also like a lot of people are not gonna die that we think. I have a feeling that Deep is the one character that we've all wanted him to die since season 1, and this guy is still alive for the last episode, and I have a feeling that he's not gonna die. That's the other thing. I have a feeling that he's literally not gonna die because like the last scene that he was on in this like last episode was that he can't touch the water, so he can't be in the ocean because the fish, the shark, all the creatures from the sea are gonna fucking kill him, and he left a guy drowning instead of saving him because he knew that if he got into the water, he was going to get killed. So you just see him kind of disappearing into this, like wherever it was. He like, okay, he completely gets out of the frame, and just you don't know anything from him. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the end of it for him. Like he just hid like a coward. And I mean, it's destroying him because like he suck up to Homelander, only for the Seven to get disbanded, and then the one thing that he had beside the Seven was all his fishy, under the sea friends, whatever you want to call them, and even they don't want him. So what is up with the Deep? What is going to happen with the Deep? So that is definitely like something to kind of think about. Because that's essentially what it is. There's Homelander, Sage is still alive, Deep is still alive, Firecracker gone, Allfather still alive, Black Noir gone. So we have to see what's going to happen in this next episode. And also another thing that was pretty interesting was the fact that like out of 30 people that they showed the Homelander clip of him essentially Jesus passing down the crown to the new second coming. I don't even like even Mother's Milk was confused, which was for me hilarious because I was thinking the same thing that he was saying. Is he saying that he's Jesus, or he's saying that he's the second coming of Jesus? So like what is going on with it? And like Starlight is like, does it even matter? It's like these people are like crazy. Like, I mean, not really. Only 6 out of 30 like really believed in him. And then he tried to kill the rest of them, and I'm pretty sure all those people are going to speak up, and be like, hey, this guy's he's a monster. But I mean, we live in they're living in a world where like there's no reason behind anything. It's just being a fan and fanatics and all this stuff, and like and not being able to see through the lens of social media, and like how they're being portrayed in all this media aspects. Because these guys have movies, they have TikToks, they have advertisements, they have they're the heroes of the world also. So like on top of people being grateful for the savings, and I say quote unquote savings that they've been able to do, like saving the lives of other people and stuff like that, they're also in their screen 24/7. They want to watch a movie. Hey, let's watch a movie about Homelander. Which, speaking of movies and stuff like that, it was hilarious to me to see the Homelander poster that is a parody of the Superman poster that just came out like a few months back. Like that was hilarious. Like that was just freaking amazing. So we saw that, and I don't know, it's just one of those things. So they can't see past that they're just idolizing these heroes and stuff like that, and idolizing Homelander, and I don't know where this is going to end. Like, I feel like there's a lot of ground to cover for an episode, and this can either go really bad, or it's going to be good enough to be like, okay, yeah, they saved it. Because, again, there's a lot of ground to cover still with an episode left, and you have to ask yourself, where is this going to end? Like, what is an actual formidable ending to this story? And for me, in particular, personally, I think that the best ending they could do is just get rid of Homelander's power and make him live a normal life. That is the best way to end it. But anyways, guys, just tell me what you think in the comments below. There's this is also going to go into Instagram and stuff like that. So if you do follow me on Instagram, make sure to leave your comment on any of the videos that I post. Also, give a like, subscribe if you haven't done so, and activate the notifications so you know when I'm posting videos. But anyways, with that out of the way, and I hope that the voice really ends really good. I can't wait for this next episode next week. But with that down, let's get into a completely different topic now. Let's stop with the boys there, and online that kind of tickled my brain a little bit, and I was trying to figure out what it was. So there's this thing going around that supposedly Resident Evil 5 is the best selling game of the Resident Evil franchise. So I've been looking around trying to confirm this, and I did saw a post on the internet. Like I was looking through it, and like I did saw one statistic that matched that description, but it was like US, like United States, most like in the US, Resident Evil 5 supposedly has been the number one game that to sell out of the whole franchise. However, I was looking into these, unless like this is recent or something like that, and I just don't know. Like supposedly like Resident Evil 5 is the one that sold the most, but last time I checked, and maybe this information is outdated, so if somebody knows more, definitely like check in. But as of April, Resident Evil 2 Remake was the number one on the list for the most sold games of Resident Evil. And I'm talking about worldwide. And it was like 16 something million. Then after that, when it was Resident Evil 7 Biohazard with also 16 million something. Like it was a bunch of million copies, right? But it was like the difference between number one and number two was so close that it's like it can change at any moment. But basically it was like 16.8 and 16.4. So it was like there was not this huge gap. Then in number three, it was Resident Evil 5 with 16.2, I think it was. 16.3, correct. My bad. 16.3. So it was literally 0.1 away from the second, which is like what, 100,000 copies, essentially what it was. And then right after 5, it was Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village. And I have the list right here to kind of like go with you guys. So it was Resident Evil 2 Remake number 1, Resident Evil 7 number 2, Resident Evil 5 at number 3, Resident Evil 6 at number 4, Resident Evil 4 at number 5, Resident Evil Village at number 6. 7 is the number 4 Resident Evil 4 Remake. Number 8 is Resident Evil 3 Remake. Number 9, Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil Remake. Number 10, Resident Evil 0. And the other 20, I'm not going to read them because those are actually right behind it is Resident Evil Requiem, which is the new one that's like at number 11. But everything after that is just Revelations 2, the original games, Operation Raccoon City, Code Veronica, Outbreak, and Umbrella Chronicles. So how is it that Resident Evil 4 is not the one that has sold the most? So in theory, though, if you put Resident Evil 4 and the 4 Remake, if you put those two together, I believe that is definitely the number one game to sell. If my math is not failing me, like that would be the top, game, because like, yeah, if you put both remake and original, Resident Evil 4 would probably be at the top. But like essentially people are saying like, why is it like not Resident Evil 4 or whatever? I love Resident Evil. Let's just start by that. But I don't think that Resident Evil 4 is by any means the greatest Resident Evil game there is. I think that Resident Evil 2 and Biohazard definitely have that specifically the remake of 2. Definitely those two have the upper hand. What Resident Evil 4 is the revolution of like, hey, we're gonna go from to this from what we had before with the static cameras and like whatever it is, and you're running around. From that, we're gonna go to an over-the-shoulder third-person shooter, and that's where Resident Evil 4 comes in, and it kind of revolutionized the franchise itself. So it's not so much that it's the greatest Resident Evil game there is. And I mean, I you can disagree with me. Let me know in the comments below if you think that Resident Evil 4 is the best game out of the franchise. But for me, it's not, honestly. That's like saying that Resident Evil Biohazard is the best because it has a first person shooter. Because I think that that is kind of a preference thing, whether you like the cameras on the hallways and like the character moving, or do you like the over the shoulder, or do you like the third person? And I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Requiem lets you do both. So um, it's more of a preference thing. And I'm not thinking taking away anything from Resident Evil 4. What I will say though is that Resident Evil pivoted a lot at 4 from what it originally was. Because it was a zombie game and biohazard weapons and stuff like that. And all of a sudden you have like zombies trying to kill you with chainsaws and like whatever they can get, to zombies shooting at you, to zombies riding motorcycles, to it became crazy. It became this whole different thing. And at least me personally, I like the grounded stuff of Resident Evil. So that is why I see personally Resident Evil 2 as the best game from the Resident Evil franchise, because it was still when the franchise was talking about zombies and stuff like that. So Mr. X, he's the big bad bioweapon unstoppable force, unmovable object, whatever you want to call him. But like, he's the one that like stands out in there, but it's only one versus like trying to constantly kill these zombies that if you blew their heads off, they're just like having this thing going out and like trying to kill you also. So I like the grounded aspect of Resident Evil, especially for that first and second game. And even the third game, you can argue that it's really grounded. 4 took it to a whole new level in terms of lore and also in terms of like the mechanics of the game, and it served as the turning point for and the change in the franchise that has allowed us to have the game as we have it now. So and you know that it was the beginning of something cool and new for the franchise in terms of like over the shoulder and all that stuff, but it was also the start of a downfall. If you come to think about it, what came after 4 with Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, those are kind of the downfall of the franchise a little bit, to the point where people were like, what the fuck is this? And they had to step back and go back to the survival horror aspect of it with Resident Evil 7 and 8. And they had to literally take a breather and reassess the situation, because they knew that it was getting out of control. And now with Requiem, you have a solid story, solid 10-hour game, whatever it was. Even if it's short by today's game standard, it was still in that good survival horror aspect of the game. A little bit of action here and there with Leon, but the survival is horror aspect is still very present without taking it to that next level over the top action that was in Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. Because Resident Evil 5 and 6, the problem with them back in the day was the fact that it lost its survivor horror aspect of it. It was just surviving in action survival. That's what it was. And I'm saying this as a fan of Resident Evil 5. My first game and introduction to the franchise was Resident Evil 5. So I played that game, and I remember playing it with my cousin every single time that he would go and come over to the house, and he was playing Chiva and I was playing Chris. Cool game, lots of action, lots of fun, but like no, after knowing the lore of the actual story and actually knowing what the original story was telling, I can see why people didn't like 5 and 6. And definitely even when 6 came out and I had played 5, I still thought that 6 was a downgrade from 5. So I could still see the flaws of Resident Evil 6. And once I got to play the original Resident Evil games and stuff like that, I was like, wow, yeah, this franchise kind of had a peak, had a really good vision of where they wanted to take things, and then it kind of just went down. And again, you can erase from history Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. There's really, I don't think they've done much reference in terms of like what has happened after 6, because if you think about it, you had Ethan Winters, a completely different virus and all this stuff, and then and it was also in Louisiana and like in the middle of nowhere. And then you had Resident Evil Village, which connects with the original Resident Evil and the guy that created the virus and all that stuff. But just if you think about it, yeah, Resident Evil 5 and 6, you can kind of skip them through and you'll be fine still. I don't think Capcom wants to give anybody a reason to play those two games, so they will try to avoid talking about them or even mentioning them. Like it's not worth it for them. So that is something that I wanted to talk about and just say I saw that. But as of from my understanding, it's still Resident Evil. It's still Resident Evil 2, the remake, that has the most sales. I don't know. Maybe it is outdated, but as of right now, the one thing that I'm talking about and that I am seeing is that Resident Evil 2 still holds the crown. So yeah, no, that was kind of interesting to talk about. But anyways, guys, with that, I am going to talk about the most important topic, and the one topic that actually made me want to come back to record this. So I'm going to say something about myself that I don't know if I have made you guys aware of, but I am a huge fan of Star Wars, or at least was a huge fan of Star Wars. Growing up, I saw Star Wars so many times that I cannot begin to even like explain to you my fascination with the lore of Star Wars, with everything that it had to offer, with the prequels. And like, Star Wars is the first movie that I watched. The original Star Wars, The New Hope, was the first movie that I watched as a kid from the 70s that I enjoyed. Like, that I actually enjoyed. It was crazy. Like, I remember watching episode 1 because, like, I think my sister or my parents had gotten me episode 1, The Phantom Menace, fascinated by Darth Maul and the double blade saber. It was just so freaking cool. And then I hadn't watched episode 2 when episode 3 hit theaters. So I went to the movies to see episode 3, and I don't remember honestly whether or not that was the first time that I saw Darth Vader, because Darth Vader, like the character, there's characters in pop culture and society that get mentioned so many times that you are aware of who the characters are, and then you grow up and you don't even like remember when was the first time that you saw them. And Darth Vader was definitely one of those characters where they were like so ingrained in culture that I don't remember whether or not I saw him for the first time in episode 3, or I saw him before that on one of the original trilogy movies. I really don't remember whether or not I saw them there first. But my point to get it across is like I was such a huge fan. So I went to see that movie in the theater, and I remember that I got traumatized by seeing Anakin burned alive. It was just crazy. I loved that movie so much. I saw episode 2. I remember my first time seeing episode 5, 4, 5, and 6 was a Blockbuster that was near my cousin's house, and she had taken me to the Blockbuster to rent movies and stuff like that. And I liked Star Wars so much that when I saw those, I was like, oh, I want to see these movies. I've never seen them before, and I ended up getting all 3 of them and watching the first 2 because they were really long and we didn't get a chance to watch episode 6. But next time that I actually stayed on her house again, she took me again to the Blockbuster, and I ended up renting that episode 6 and actually enjoying it more than the rest of the movies. So as a kid growing up, I found episode 6, even like Return of the Jedi, I found it the most entertaining out of all the original trilogies. Um, Again, I was just a kid back then, so being able to see that and enjoy it and all that stuff was great. So episode 3 came out, and then it followed. I don't remember how many years later it was, but then Clone Wars, the movie, came out, and I wanted to see that one so very very badly, but I didn't get to see that one in the movie theaters. I got to see it once it was like in cable or wherever it was. So I watched that one, and from there they started doing the Clone Wars show, and that was one that I was watching as constantly as I could because back then we didn't have really streaming services, and recording a show was kind of recording a Star Wars, the Clone Wars show was kind of a pain in the butt because like they played a lot of Clone Wars in Cartoon Network, and the issue was that um, sometimes they would play past episodes instead of the new episode, and being able to record it was a pain in the butt because some people would be watching TV and it's like it would just change to record the channel, and you couldn't change the channel because it's recording it, and it was an old episode. So that my dad took that out and be like, yeah, you can't record, unfortunately, Star Wars. So like, because everybody wants to watch TV and it's just recording randomly. Saw the first few episodes. I remember I've seen that first season so many times. I loved it. Season 2, I also watched it a bunch of times, and just Star Wars was really ingrained in me just growing up. I remember having a lot of Star Wars toys, Darth Vader's, Darth Sidious, um, so many, so many. I had Luke, I had Han, Chewbacca. I had all of them, but I one of the things that I really did like about the Star Wars toys in general, it was always fun to go to Toys R Us and go to the Star Wars section because they always the way they sold the toys back then. So nowadays you just very rarely you'll see it, but like before they had kind of scenes. So they would sell you the for example, the scene where like the Jedi go to arrest Emperor Palpatine. So they would sell you that toy, but it was set up in a scene. So you could they were all standing there like they were posing. It was not like now where you have oh it's a ship, and then you have the box is the ship, and then on the top you'll have like on the corner you have the characters that are included in the set. Like it was just a set that they were selling you. They were selling you a scene, and it was pretty cool to always see stuff like that. I had the that scene in particular that I'm talking about right now. I had a Tuscan set also. It was pretty cool. I also had another set that was from the Hoth, the planet Hoth. So it like Star Wars, the way they sold their toys, it was really ingenious, really cool. I enjoyed them a lot. I had a bunch of different lightsabers, and I loved them. I always wanted to have a double bladed lightsaber, and I never had the chance to actually get the double bladed lightsaber. Um, and it was just fun to go around and play with my neighbors. And even though the my neighbors weren't into Star Wars like crazy like I was, they were still into Star Wars enough to play with the lightsabers. So I always had somebody to play with the lightsabers, and I remember that those things were like plastic color. And after a month of me having them, they were like the color, but then they had like white bends and like hits and stuff like that, where you could see where the lightsaber was getting hit and stuff like that. It was just crazy. So I was always playing with those. I remember that one of my first lightsabers that I had was the Anakin Darth Vader lightsaber, that it was transparent, and you would get it out and you turn it on, and it light up either blue or red. It depends on the setting that you had it. And dude, like Star Wars was just such a big part of my childhood. I had that lightsaber until it didn't work no more. I had it to the point where it was like yellow, like the plastic. It was meant to be transparent plastic, and it turned yellow over the time. So that's just for me to give you kind of a perspective on the love and just how much Star Wars impacted my life as a kid. Like I just loved Star Wars. I really did. So when I saw situations like they added the Clone Wars, I was like, I can't wait to watch the Clone Wars because it's just adding so much lore. Because think about it, back in the day, there was only the Legends stuff that they would like George Lucas and stuff they were writing, and like you had the books, you had the comics, but like comics and books of that kind were not really accessible to me. So all I had to fill up the lore that I need that I had it for Star Wars was the Clone Wars and stuff like that. So I was really sad when the Clone Wars ended. When it got canceled or whatever you want to call it, and then Netflix, I think it was Netflix that put out it one season, and it was okay, but it's not even near to what it was supposed to be. So Disney bought Star Wars and they published Rebels in 2014. And again, this didn't really. So it affected me in a way, but it was not a so much negative way. I gave Rebels a chance. It was just not as good as Clone Wars. It had a different animation. If you look at season one and you compare it to season five of Clone Wars, the animation was just so different. The way it looks, the shading, the grains, and it was just so different. It was a different animation style, and I didn't really liked it that much. I remember like even before Clone Wars, the previous Clone Wars, which was like an animated show, that one was really good to me, but it was also basically essentially also got canceled, and then they did the other Clone Wars. So like there was always room to do Clone Wars stories in general because the Clone Wars lasted for a period of time, a long period of time, and there were so many stories that were not never told that they were just able to tell, especially once they were able to do the shows and stuff like that. So I was always on board with that. Rebels was kind of for me. Like I could never get into it until they actually started bringing Ahsoka and bringing in Maul and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I did see a little bit of it, but not enough to say, hey, I've watched Rebels without missing a single episode. Like the way I've seen Clone Wars. I've watched Rebels to a certain point, but not everything. I haven't seen everything. So, and supposedly Rebels gets better after season two, I think it is, but still, it was just, kind of whatever for me. Another thing that kind of filled in those gaps in lore was Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. Great game. Battlefront, great games. All those games were awesome. The one thing that kind of threw me off, and one of the reasons why I haven't revisited any of those games, and I kind of want to, is the fact that when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they were like, hey, everything that you know as canon is not canon anymore, and we're gonna make our own continuity. Those are like fancy stories. So basically everything like um the Force Unleashed 1 and 2, all the Legends comic books, all the Legends books, every single thing they basically just decanonized it, and the only thing that was canon was the first 3 episodes, Clone Wars, Rebels, and the original trilogy. Everything else at the gate, and it was kind of tough to realize that what you were playing never really happened. And that's kind of how I see it, and that's kind of how I this is one of the reasons why I haven't read a lot of Legends stuff, because like even though there's a lot of Legends stories that are so freaking good, I don't read it because it's not real. You know, like it's not. It didn't happen. And I mean, you make canon whatever you want to make canon, but like in a story where it's like constantly developing and stuff like that, it's kind of rough to try and do that. If it would be a dead franchise and like they wouldn't be putting out anything, then I would be like, sure, I'll read Legends. Gives me something different. But Star Wars is continuously like putting out stuff. So, but going back to Rebels and all that stuff, they did Rebels, then they did, I think it was Rogue One, Solo. So those were fine. And it wasn't until Rise of Skywalker, right? Yeah, Rise of Skywalker, that I was a huge fan, huge into Star Wars until Rise of Skywalker came out. I remember that I like literally like tears came out of my eyes when I saw the trailer for episode 7. Like literally. I was like I saw that thing so many times. I think I saw it like 5 times when it first came out on YouTube, and it was just freaking amazing. So I watched that, and then I also saw episode 8. So the Last Jedi, I saw it in a 4DX. It was my first 4DX movie, and I saw it once. I loved it, and I saw it again, and I didn't love it as much, but I still defend it. I still like it enough. I think like it is a tipping point for the series. And once Rise of Skywalker came out, that's when like it lost me. So that movie destroyed my that movie destroyed the emotion, the everything that little Kevin had growing up. It just crushed it because it was just so bad, to the point that as of today, I've only seen it once in the movie theater, and I don't want to see that garbage ever again. I don't. And it's just one of those things where like, hey, I am so sorry, but I don't want to see uh Rise of Skywalker ever again. I am glad that it kind of ended, and they've done a few things that are cool. They did Mandalorian and Grogu, which I liked because it was isolated enough to for me to, even though it took place in between episodes and whatever, it's a filler story. It's it was separated enough for me to be like, yeah, this is cool, until they added Luke and all this crap. And it was fun at the moment to see Luke and all this. But again, the issue and the problem with it was that it attached itself to something that was not alive for me anymore as a fan. And Then they did Ahsoka also, and Ahsoka wasn't great, to be completely honest. It took me back to a lot of characters of Rebels and all that stuff, characters that I didn't really care for since the beginning, since they actually came out, because they were the ones that replaced Clone Wars. So um, it has definitely been a crazy ride for me as a Star Wars fan. To kind of still be here and expect something different, something new. They did Andor. Andor was fun. It was cool. I enjoyed it. Book of Boba Fett. I enjoyed it, but I don't enjoy it with the same um, excitement, happiness, and just the same me as I did 10, 15 years ago. You know, it's definitely something different. And I don't think it's different because I have mature as a adult, because like Maul, the show, the Shadow Lord, like I was watching that and it sparked something inside me. And I was like, wow, I miss Star Wars. As a fan, I really do miss Star Wars. But I don't want to keep seeing these filler stories that don't add to the lore of Star Wars, that don't add anything monumental, that does not take the story to the next level, because every single thing that we see for Star Wars has to revolve around Skywalker and the name Skywalker and Darth Vader and Skywalker and Luke and Anakin, and it's like Jesus in the Star Wars universe. And it's like, okay, I get it. He's one of the strongest characters there is in that universe. He was the chosen one. He has probably the deepest character development there is, because we literally see him from when he was a child and his mom explained that he came from the Force, literally telling you where the frick he came from, and we saw him die years and years later next to his son. So like, he has had years of development and years of like Star Wars and Lucasfilm adding all this stuff and adding more lore to the character. But I think what we have right now, as of today, is enough for me to say, hey, let's take this shit and move it elsewhere. One of the reasons why I enjoyed Skeleton Crew so much, it was because it was detached from Skywalker in and of itself. Like, it was just so like away from there, and it was like, okay, perfect. One of the reasons why I enjoyed the first season of Mando was because it was detached from the original thing. Yes, you had the empires or like the lingering stuff from the empire and stuff like that. It was adding some stuff past the events of episode 6 and stuff like that. But like, it didn't rely too much on it, and that was fun, that was cool. But now I just want to see something different. I think that we have the stories that we need. We have the lore that, like, they've already established their lore. They've already like done so many things. They have enough canon to have enough content to compare to the content that they had prior to decanonizing the whole freaking thing. They have enough stuff. They've been pumping out stuff. Disney has been pumping out shit since 2012. So they do have enough stuff to cover everything that they decanonized on the first place. But yet we find ourselves in a situation where we're adding content to Star Wars, relying on the characters that are already dead in the universe. Going back in time, filling in shit, and it gets exhausting. You guys, Star Wars, Disney has... Okay, so let me calm down for a second. Disney has... I understand Disney's position. They bought a franchise because of the characters that were well established in culture. I understand that to the maximum. But I feel that you guys have done enough already, good and bad, to say, hey, let's take this 100 years into the future, 200 years into the future, 500 years before everything happens. Because even then, when you did Acolyte, look at how that turned out. So we had Kathleen Kennedy for the longest time leading the ship. And like, don't get me wrong, I am not fond of everything that has happened under her administration or time in there. But I don't think that Dave Filoni has done something great with it either, you know? Like, again, these are people with potentials, and it's not like they've been creating garbage, because they've been able to create sustainable characters that people actually care about, but they haven't taken it to they're just so afraid of getting away from the Skywalker saga. And that is the thing that I am completely frustrated about. As a fan, as somebody who grew up with Star Wars, I want to see a universe that can grow up with me as a fan. I've been seeing this since I was 5. I am 27 years old right now, and we're still talking about stuff that happened in between episode 3 and episode 4. And we already have episode 9. That's what I'm talking about. That's the thing that pisses me off the most. It's like, let's move away from the Skywalker saga. Let's move away from all this and start developing stories that will add to the future of Star Wars and expand the universe. The galaxy is so vast, and you're telling me that the only people that we should care about is Anakin Skywalker and all his sperm. Like, this is like crazy to me. There has to be something more than just Anakin and his family in this fucking universe, because otherwise that means that I've lost time getting engulfed into this lore, and like that just means that I just wasted time of my life watching stuff that just, oh, it's just this, and saying it's just this with all the stuff that has come out is something, because every single thing that comes out always gets tied back into Luke, Anakin, or freaking Sidious. That's it. So what's it gonna be? Are we gonna keep going out and, watching? So another thing also is that movies for Star Wars, we need to take it forward, not backwards. Let's put out a movie into the future. Let the fans decide. Get away from the Skywalker saga, start something new, and let the fans decide whether or not that's the way they want to go. I don't think it's a hard choice, to be completely honest with you. I say this with love, dude, with emotion, because I do love Star Wars. And Maul Shadow Lord was awesome, but it sparked something inside me that I thought I was completely over. So let's see what happens to Star Wars in the future. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. Follow me on Instagram and on TikTok if you can. And we will get into more Star Wars discussion momentarily, but that's just a reminder. So, speaking of Star Wars, ever since I've been getting into this Star Wars situation, and just my feed, I swear my phone listens to me all the time. So like I started also getting clips and stuff about Star Wars and all that. And one of the clips that resurfaced, because I had seen them before, was from the hat guy from the Escape Pod. And he is talking about how he doesn't like Kenobi, mainly because of the final scene and the final battle, and all this stuff. And his argument is very valid in a logical standpoint. Again, this is not to throw any shade on him or anything. Anybody can think whatever they want to think. But like, his argument is like, how is it that Obi-Wan, being so detached from the Force, is able to beat Prime Vader? Because it doesn't make any sense. That's literally what he says. So throughout the whole season, you see Obi-Wan struggling with the Force, mainly out of guilt, out of self-doubt, a lot of internal mental struggles with him, which doesn't let him tap into the Force, because he hasn't even accepted what has happened to not only him and his apprentice, but like the Jedi Order in general. When he gets to fight Vader at the end, it's not about raw power. It's about where Obi-Wan is mentally at that point. And when that comes into play, into fruition, you see that Obi-Wan, at the moment that he gets to face Vader, he's now he has now accepted what has happened, and he has also got rid of his self-doubt. So at that point in time when he's facing Vader, he's won right there. He's there. He's actually present in the situation, and that is why he's able to, you know, beat Vader, because like Vader is fighting with anger and all this crazy thing that we already know that the light side of the Force kind of uh, takes, like, hey, no, we don't need that. And Obi-Wan is like acceptance, like calmness, being there, being able to, um, fight his apprentice once more, and not go crazy with his feelings and all this stuff. He's just calm. He's there. He's present, and he's able to defeat him. Right. Then his argument goes into like, why wouldn't he kill him if why would you beat him for the second time and not kill him? Because like he understands that why he left it in Mustafar burning, and he left him for dead. So even like let's reassess for a second and kind of get this. He doesn't kill him because of the Jedi code. He doesn't kill him because like under self-defense heat of the moment situations, they can kind of get away with it. But when people are disarmed and they're no like longer a threat, they don't kill people. They don't really do that. Um, let's take for example the battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin. If that same thing would have happened, same injuries without the lava and like the burning and all that stuff. If he would have just killed his cut his legs and arm and he's defenseless, Obi-Wan is just not going to execute Anakin. He's not going to do that. And to kind of prove that point, let me take you back to when episode 3 happened, the beginning of episode 3, where Anakin cuts Dooku's hand and executes him because the Emperor wants him to do that, and that also foreshadows the descent into the dark side. So killing somebody defenseless, executing them, it's tapping into the dark side of the Force. So they don't do that. Jedis do not kill people when they are defenseless or stuff like that. They really don't. And even though it can seem contradictory, because like logically what happens after that point, but like when you kind of think about it more in a philosophical way and like religious way, the way they it makes sense for them not to kill other people, because they do believe in redemption. They do, and even though Vader and Sidious are not they don't share those values. They are Siths, but that doesn't mean that they need to stop believing in what they believe as Jedi's and like the light side of the Force, because they already know how the dark side behaves. So again, it's not as like black and white of, hey, he should have killed him because he would have saved a bunch of people in the galaxy. Yes, logically, from a logical standpoint, yes. But then if he would have done so, he would have acted from a place of fear and anger and all of that stuff. So Obi-Wan did the correct thing by letting him live, and just he actually leaves. So it is completely normal, more than what you want to think, because a lot of people just wants to think from a logical perspective in a world that It's the logic in our world is different from the logic in the Star Wars universe, because you have this thing that is the force that works in a different way, and we don't have that. So like the force binds us and people use it in different ways, and it like can corrupt you, but it can also make you stronger and like give you power and a bunch of stuff, right? So like I understand the logic of, hey, he should have killed him, but at the same time I understand the logic of, hey, he's defenseless, I'm not going to kill him, because that will tap into the dark side. And that is the one thing that the Jedi are always like constantly reminding you. The Jedi are not people, are not the people in aggression. They are the people who defend. They defend themselves. They will do everything to protect the others and all that stuff. So like seeing him not executing Vader or Anakin, even if that battle wouldn't have happened in Mustafar, I believe that Obi-Wan wouldn't have killed him anyways. He wouldn't have. And again, it goes to what I was saying before. But anyways, I just kind of want to get that out of my chest. That video has been going on my feed for a minute now. And also it's been out for months, because I think that thing came out like months ago, because that was with C3 films that they, or 3C films that they did those clips. But anyways, guys, that is everything that I had for you today. I hope that you guys enjoyed the content. Again, I am so sorry that I've been out for so long. A new season of Marvel Rivals starts tomorrow, so I will probably talk about that on Sunday and kind of let you guys know how I'm feeling the game and stuff like that. But anyways, other than that, this has been by far the longest episode that I have done. It is tapping into an hour and 28 minutes right now and rolling. And I am very motivated. I have a lot of stuff to talk with you guys about. So, but anyways, guys, have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And take care. Be safe out there. Again, if you haven't done so yet, do subscribe to my page. And also find me on Instagram and on TikTok as Finding the Middle. You'll see all the stuff in there. So have a good one, guys. Enjoy. And see you guys on the next one.